Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Steelheads Weekly with Darius Dominguez and Mark Freitas. Mark, how you doing this week, buddy?
I'm doing well. It's the sun shining, the
Finally.
Steelheads are winning, and the Leafs are winning. It's been a great weekend.
It has been a great weekend,
A
actually.
good
That's a
week.
great point. Yes, it was pretty good, but it didn't start great on Friday night, and I think that's what we'll start first. Steelheads and Ottawa 67s. And don't worry, later in the episode, we'll get into a bunch of stuff, including some potential draftees into this year's draft and a couple other prospects and some of your articles. Mark will get into all of that, but we'll start Friday, like I said, against Ottawa 67s. Huge matchup with playoff seeding implications. We were really hoping that the Steelheads were going to pull out the win. Unfortunately, they don't, but they get the overtime point. So now they're tied still, even after Sunday, with the Ottawa 67s. What did you think of the game itself? And then we'll get into kind of, the players themselves.
That it was basically old time OHL hockey. We had hitting Darius, we had fighting, we had goals, we had more fights, and we saw kind of the benches bickering back and forth. No, that it was a good game. That there was a lot of hitting, a lot of scoring. The Steelers got more. Let's go through the score sheet. I just want to make sure
Mhm.
double check. Yeah, the Steelers got more depth scoring, which is good. They got a goal from a defenseman. Stevie Lescovar laid a big hit, which we'll get into that in a bit. But no, that it was good. There was cockiness as well, and I think it'd be a fantastic playoff matchup between these two teams.
And it could still happen mathematically. I just don't know if it's going to, but it could as like a 4-5 matchup, and it would be really fun to watch these two go at it in the playoffs again. Because, like you said, it just felt like a playoff atmosphere. Both teams knew that they needed to win this game. And I mean, it didn't start good for the Steelheads. It did start good. I should say that. I mean, Fibiger scores. He gets on the board first.
Mhm.
And then you have three straight from the Ottawa 67s. It wasn't looking good, actually, because you move into the third period where one of the 67s goals came, and you're down 3-1 like 8 minutes into the period, and you're like, this doesn't look good. This looks like it's going to be a loss.
Yeah,
And then some big goals from Locust and Zabeski, who, like, Zabeski all game, I mentioned it on Friday, it looked like he was like almost getting targeted or something by the 67s. He was the only guy getting beat up in front of the net in the corners. Like, I'm not saying they're targeting him, but he was very noticeably in the mix a lot that game. So
which is something you want.
yes, exactly. Like we've mentioned, he's like a new age. Like, he's not the biggest body, but he plays like a power forward in my eyes, right? He drives the
Right.
net hard, and just the style of play lends to like a power forward. And I think,
Like a Travis Keckney.
yeah, like he's in the mix all the time, and it's really good. And he definitely was in this game, which was fun to see. It was just kind of like hilarious in the moment where I just kept
Yeah,
laughing. I'm like, this guy is getting beat up all the game. Not that that's funny, but he's just in the mix. It's good.
yeah, no,
And they're asserting themselves. And like you mentioned, Stevie Lescovar too. How about that hit?
dude, that he trucked that guy. I mean, he's a good sportsmanship for also calling the trainer over. But no, he hit the guy pretty hard. Took exception of the fight, manned up to it, did his thing. Didn't get a game misconduct. He was lucky. He was with shoulder on shoulder, I believe.
Oh yeah, after watching the
No,
video, it was clean in my
no,
eyes.
and
Yeah.
like one thing I mentioned in my article, this guy's great defensively,
Yep.
and it's something that they need. And what's great is, like I've said before too, he's just hitting bodies that he sees, and it's great, and it shows teams that you have a guy there, that we're not going to mess around. So seeing that huge hit on Friday was that was probably hit of the game. I don't know if it was hit of the year, but certainly
I've
big
really in
hits.
my time watching the OHL, like in Mississauga, I've seen games in other markets too, but there are a few hits and few times I can remember just that sound, like that thud
Yeah,
that I heard on Friday after that hit is like
yeah,
it was a
and the
big
set,
hit.
yeah, I caught like the end of the hit. I was looking, I saw the puck came and went fast, so I kind of missed the hit, and you missed, and all we heard is the oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like oh,
yeah. You hear him
so
connect, like you could hear
yeah,
the equipment, that thud, like I said, and then the crowd react, and he's
yeah,
on the floor, and Lescovar is like, "Oh crap!" Like waving the trainer over already, and then one
yeah,
guy's trying to fight Lescovar at the same time. Lescovar
yeah,
obviously takes him on. Big, Good fight too, pretty good fight. It
Yeah,
was no
it was good.
Rempe and Reeves, but it was a good
Really.
fight. Um, and yeah, the first like 5 minutes of that game or 10 minutes of that game, physically, was some of the most entertaining hockey I've seen
In a
all
while.
season. Yeah, like it
Yeah,
just
no,
felt like playoffs again.
it did, and that whole game too. Actually, I'd say had a lot of hitting and fighting. There was some bad blood. Like I said, there was a play. I think you missed it, and I mentioned it to you. Leanders caught the puck, had it in his glove. The
Yes,
Ottawa guy skates to the net, and Leanders just puts his glove into his face, showing him that he has it.
that he has
I'm
it, and
like,
I kind
that's
of
pretty good.
I love when goalies like kind of do that because it, it shows personality, and I feel like
It's a
goalies are
heel
so
move. I like it.
yeah, goalies are so like in their own class, and usually they don't get involved in that stuff. And I kind of like it when goalies do sometimes get involved with that. It
Get
shows some
cocky. Let them know you're
personality.
there.
Exactly. So one of the other things to mention of this game, Steelheads, they usually outshoot their opponents just because of the play style JR has them playing. I've noticed that for
Yeah.
years, going back to
Yes.
2016. They always outshoot their opponents. Heavily
Yes.
outshoot the 67s in this game, almost 40 shots on goal. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
lose in overtime.
37-27.
Yeah, so big, pretty decent gap there. And unfortunately, losing overtime. Muse on the 67s hits the heartbreaker Selly. Not sure if you saw that, but that is a little salt in the wound. But yeah, 67s take the game. But for the Steelheads, considering where they were in the third period, to salvage a point out of this game, not bad.
No, not bad. Then they needed a point. They got one. They move on.
Exactly, and you put your head down, you continue to play. And next on the list is the Windsor Spitfires in Windsor,
Ooh.
who are not a good team this season.
No, and
Not,
this is the game that they should have won. They needed to win, and
and they
boy,
did.
did they ever win.
They certainly did win. And I mean, credit to Windsor. They like the gap in shots. Like it was a closer game on paper than it might lend to the fact of this, or when you look at the score, might not think that. But you have Luke Misa scoring. I feel like he hasn't scored in, not that is a bad thing. He racks up a lot of assists, but I feel like he hasn't scored in a minute.
Been a while.
McGregor Richmond gets on the board. Zidlicki, it was nice to see him score. Nice goal, nice celly. He gets another one right after that. Porter Martone continues his great season with 32 goals. Although, did you see his goal?
I did not.
So he had an empty net, and he like decided to like drag it around the goalie and then shove it in, but the goalie almost made the save. So I was kind of like freaking out watching the highlights, like, oh my god, why didn't you just shoot that? He scores though, all good, and Jack Van Volsen gets the sixth goal with I guess like 10 seconds left in the game, which is hilarious. And
Yeah, pretty quick.
he's been great. He's been great.
Oh,
So
and he has 17 goals in the year. He's only gonna get better. I think next year he'll have a big breakout year.
yeah, and there was a lot of like criticism, I guess I'll call it, because he obviously was traded for Owen Beck, and when you trade somebody of Owen Beck's like status, you want to get somebody great back. You're expecting a great prospect, and he didn't have the greatest year last year. He didn't have the greatest start to this season, but like most guys, like Carmirez and all these other guys we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, he's come on in the second half. He's looked good, and he has, like you said, he has 17 goals. That's pretty good.
Quietly too.
Very quietly, yeah, and he's been a pretty effective player for them second half of the season. So that's where you want guys to start to play well. Come on, second half of the season, heading into the playoffs, and there aren't that many games left, so that's good to see. But great game for the Steelheads, and I mean Ivan Kovic again, 1 goal allowed.
He's had excuse me. He's had a very good rookie season for a goalie,
He
as
has,
far as I can remember.
yeah.
From
I mean,
from Mississauga standpoint, yeah.
from a Mississauga standpoint, the last rookie I can remember doing something like this is Jacob Ingham, and then before that, it would probably be the Majors days. Maybe
Yeah,
Spencer
wow.
Martin. Maybe Spencer
No,
Martin as well.
God, no. Oh, no disrespect to Spencer Martin, but no, it's just bad PTSD. I think Joe Ranger.
Joe Ranger was a good rookie as well. He didn't get into as many games. I feel like they're trusting
No.
Ivan Kovic a little bit more with this role.
Oh,
But
they must have read my article from when the season started. Gotta give both boys a chance. Don't
yeah,
be surprised. But he's done well, and he started out against a team that should give him the start.
Mhm.
So he's only to build off of this heading into next season too. I mean, they don't really play many bad teams left besides Niagara. So unless they give him, I could see them giving him the last two starts of the season.
Right. Heading into the playoffs just to give
Yeah,
Leanders some rest. I agree.
yeah,
And I think that's huge, actually, because in past years, I've seen it so many times. The Steelheads might end the year on a like 3-4 weekend or a 3-3 weekend. And they'll play their starting goaltender all three games. And then the playoffs start 2 days later. And they're just gassed from the whole season heading into the playoffs and because of that weekend and just too much of a workload. So the fact that they have Ivan Kovic playing as well as he is as a rookie and they're trusting him, they're giving him games like that, that's good. That's a really good thing
yeah.
for
Oh yeah,
it's a good thing for Leanders as well heading into the playoffs. It's exciting.
it is. Because you never know. Maybe you might need Ivan Kubic to get into a game.
Yep.
So that's a big thing as well.
That's
'Cause,
true.
hopefully not. Like you don't ever really want to start your backup or have to put your backup into a playoff game, but it's good to be a good learning experience.
He's been so good this year that if anything like that were to happen, like let's say, for whatever reason, it happens sometimes in the playoffs, the other team starts to pile up the score in one of the games, right? If he
Yeah.
were to come in, right, I feel like he is enough of a calming presence and he's had a good enough season to the point that I could see him shutting the door and the team kind of turns it around in that game.
Well,
Or,
actually,
yeah, go ahead.
so no, you first. Go fish off.
Or if there's an injury like you mentioned or something happens to the point where he has to start a game, from what I've seen so far this year, I don't know if I would put trust into past backup goalies, but I would put my trust into this guy.
Yeah, well, it only happened once in the Steelheads history. It was their first season. If you remember, Spencer Martin was the starter.
Mm-hmm.
Tyson Teichman was the backup. Martin had a god awful first two games. Steelers put in Teichman. They tie the series, losing six. But from then on, Teichman started the series. Right
Mm-hmm.
from then on, so that's when a backup came in,
Yep.
not counting 2009. But yeah, no. So you never know what could happen.
You never know, and I'm not saying that's gonna happen to Leanders, but because like we're giving praise to Ivan Kovic, but to give some praise to Leanders too, he has been fantastic this year. There's no reason to suggest that anything bad is gonna happen because he's been honestly everything for this team.
He's made some big saves this season. Even Friday, he played excellent. Can't really fault him on too many of the goals.
No, 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 no.
He's literally been what Mississauga's needed for I want to say like 5 years now. Because remember they had Ingham was supposed to be the guy. They
Yep.
traded Ingham. Ranger was supposed to be the guy. They traded Ranger. They had was it Matthew Mancini?
Matthew Mancina,
Like
yeah, took them to the final as well. He was an overage goalie. He was good too,
Jack
but
Flynn.
he wasn't an option. Like guys, they had a phase where they were trading for overage goalies to take over the starting spot because of the experience. But the problem with that is you get them for that season and they're done. So they never really had a goalie like Leanders where he's young, he'll be back and he's really good. They've never had,
Right.
not never, I shouldn't say that because they've had like Spencer Martin and even Jacob Ingham was really good. But they haven't in a very long time. So
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Something they need. And you look at other teams, they do it too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they've really addressed, I wouldn't say it's been a problem because they've gone out and gotten goalies, but they've addressed this problem of they have a starter and a backup who will be there for a while. They're both good and they're both young. I think that's great.
Right. In this case, they never had that. Like, I guess 2012 before the name change, they had JP and they traded JP, got Brendan Maxwell. Spencer Martin's the backup. They weren't going to give it to Martin as starter then until the next season. So Martin became the starter when the Steelers came. Did not do well from what I remember. They were barely in a playoff spot. They held on to that eighth seed. And like whenever they had Spencer Martin in that dude couldn't stop a beach ball.
At the time, he
At the time.
eventually became everything. Their
Yeah.
entire
So
team.
I mean, what do I know?
Yeah.
But from what I remember, like then it was like, yeah, it's like they finally have two good goalies that they could build from now.
Yeah, and I think it's exactly what we're looking at right now, which is really, really nice. But any other takeaways from this weekend that you can remember, or anything that stood out to you?
Well, I've got the article coming out in a little bit, but Jacob Fibbiger has been fantastic on the blue line.
Yes,
He's been something that team also hasn't had in a long time, an offensive scoring defenseman.
That's true, actually. They've had very well since Nick Hague, but other than that,
Nick Hague and Percy too, because
yeah.
Percy put up some decent points in last year.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I can't remember anyone else. No, nope, no, I can't remember
And
anyone else.
Fibberger also got some love on Twitter this past weekend, or I should say this morning, but for his performance this weekend from Czech Prospects. Check out the page; it's pretty good if you want to stay up to date with everything, you know, Czech Republic or Czechia prospects. And they just showed off like a really nice primary assist he had yesterday where he dekes out the guy and he passes in front. It was a nice, really nice goal, and Fibberger has been really, really smooth. He leads all OHL rookie defensemen with 33 points in his 52 games this year, which is really good from a defenseman and a rookie OHL defenseman, because this league is more physical than anywhere he's played before. So
Yes.
for him to be able to translate his game into this league this seamlessly so far has been really good. He's been really good. He has been fantastic, and he is eligible for this year's draft. And in the comments of the Czech Prospects, somebody asked, could he go second or third round? And then Czech Prospects responded, if he has a good end to the season and playoffs, then I think it is realistic. He could also go to the World Championships too, which is a possibility. It depends how far the Steelheads go. So that really depends on his draft stock. But I agree. Let's see what he does the rest of the year and into the playoffs. He's been fantastic, and the link to your article will be in the description.
For sure. So everyone listening, give a read to that when it comes out. Should be out later tonight. Well, tonight, as in from our recording.
Yes.
By the time it's already out when this is on YouTube.
The article will be live when this video is up, so definitely go check it out. And if you want to give like a little teaser for your article, something I found interesting is, you know, he compared himself to somebody, you compared him to somebody. I don't know if you want to tease that, but
So he compares himself to Morgan Riley in his style of play, but I compare him to another Czechia legend, Thomas Kaberle. Some big praise there.
Huge.
So he's got a lot of. Fibberger has a lot of assists. Going off little Thomas Kaberle, you know, he rarely ever shoots the puck. So whenever he shoots, it goes in. So you know, there's a lot of similarities there, and hopefully, sort of what I said about Stevie Leskovar, you keep adding a shot to your arsenal, and good things could happen.
Absolutely, yeah. And my favorite part about Fibberger's season so far is I had heard of him. And obviously they had the scrimmages and stuff like that. But then the first game I went to go watch, the home opener this year, you're looking at the starting lineup and you're like, whoa, that's a very interesting name. And like, wow, this team is very different. Oh, he scored like 10 seconds in. And he got his first goal.
It's funny. It's rare that they ever get to keep their import drafts.
That too. He's an import draft. A lot of people forget about that as well, yeah.
The last, I think, import draft who had like an impact was Alex Nylander.
Alex Nylander, and I can't remember if Jacob Moverari was an import draft pick too.
Yes, he was.
Really
yes, he was.
Yeah, he was really good. We could be.
There's another guy.
Yeah.
He wore number 45. I can't remember his name. He's a Detroit Pro. I think he was
Vili Sarjarvi, but I don't think he counted because they acquired him via trade. So I don't know if that.
Oh,
counts.
Did they?
Yeah. I can't. I don't remember how that works. There might be somebody else we're missing, but he's like in terms of import draft, he's been really good.
It's been so long ago, huh?
Yeah, I know. So he's been good. One last thing about this weekend before we move on. Luke Dreg, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Number 23, Luke Dregusika. We'll go with that. I have to brush up on my pronunciation for some of the Steelheads still. He's been good in the second half of the season as well, and he was a pick last year. Signed this offseason and has made it into the lineup the last half of the season. Like I mentioned, he's been pretty good. He got suspended for 2 games because of his actions.
Fantastic. For what did he do?
I don't know. And the OHL highlights obviously don't put that in I'm not sure what it is. It could have been something he did after the whistle. I didn't have a chance to watch the game, so he's been suspended for 2 games as a result.
From Friday?
No, yesterday's game, or I guess Sunday's game in Windsor. So he'll be
fantastic, guys. Another Steel getting suspended.
Yeah. He will not be eligible to play in their school day game this Wednesday and then on
he's not
Sunday.
missing out.
Yeah, no. Or sorry, not Sunday. He won't be able to play Thursday. They play back-to-back this week. So, yeah. he'll be back in the lineup Sunday at home. So,
Man, that was a little bit of sarcasm for the fantastic thing getting
yeah, I
suspended,
know.
man. All these guys are getting suspended now, and it's like, great. What's next?
I know. So, Mark, before we preview next weekend, or even this week, because they play 2 games during the week this week, what do you think of the standings? Because, it is getting hairy here. The Steelheads are currently in 5th. They're tied with the Ottawa 67s, who are below them in 6th with 69 points. Nice. And the Ottawa 67s have 58 games played, Steelheads 59, so Ottawa has a game in hand. And the top of the standings are kind of running away with it. Like Brantford has 76 points.
Yeah.
Then it's 74, 73, 72. Like it's really tight at the top. Steelheads 3 points out of 4th spot with North Bay. So I'm not sure if they're going to end up with home ice advantage, but I'm hoping that they can at least stay in that 5th spot. I know it's going to be a little hairy if they have to end up playing Oshawa or North Bay. They've also played Sudbury pretty well this year, and Sudbury could end up falling down as well. So my question to you is, where do you think they finish? Because there are only a handful of games left. Like we only got 3 weeks left into the season. Who do you think where do you think they finish, and who would you like to see them play?
Well, actually, yeah, no. So looking at the standings here, fun fact, they only have like a week left. Actually, I had to
Oh,
check the schedule today.
I guess they do technically. Well, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
They, well, yeah, I guess so. Because we're not counting next. Well, yeah, this weekend and next weekend. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so looking at it, yeah, no, I don't want to play North Bay if I'm them. That's a no for me.
Yeah.
I've mentioned in my articles how getting first would be good, stuff like that, but yeah, that's out of the cards.
Yeah.
Second place, I'd say 20% chance. Third's kind of there, and fourth is there. If I'm them, I hope to finish in fourth, maybe even third. Well, third, yeah. But on a realistic standpoint, your best bet is to go in fourth. You get the 5th seed matchup would probably become the. So what I'm thinking is North Bay jumps Oshawa, Mississauga jumps Oshawa, and then Ottawa jumps Oshawa. That's a tongue twister. And then 4 plays 5, it would be Ottawa Mississauga. That'd be a good matchup.
My preferred matchup as well would
Or 3
somehow.
versus 6 if Ottawa stays in 6th.
Right, 3-6, yeah, if it works out that way. Ottawa could also climb too, and the Steelheads couldn't. There's a lot to be played out here. I mean, the standings, they could look the same. They could look completely different. It's crazy, right? It's so tight in the
Yeah.
East this year, which is crazy. But, yeah, my preferred matchup as well would be the Steelheads versus the 67s. I think it would be an entertaining series, and I think it would be a series the Steelheads would win, which is preferable. But like you said, in terms of I think in the playoffs, goaltending is everything. So you do not want to play North Bay. You probably don't want to play Oshawa as well. I'm not saying that you do want to play Brantford or Sudbury or those other teams.
I don't think you want Brantford.
Right. You don't want Brantford. So, I wouldn't prefer to play, a top goaltender, but it's going to be interesting to watch. Preferably, obviously, Ottawa, but I don't know, just the point situation doesn't look like it's going to shape out that way, but we'll have to see what happens. The Steelheads have still quite a few games left. I mean,
Yeah. Look at the schedule here.
yeah,
They have Wednesday. So they have Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I think it's Ottawa. Big game.
yep,
Then they have next Tuesday, next Wednesday, next Friday, next Sunday. Okay, about 2 weeks in the season. I don't know why I thought the season ended next week. That's my mistake. Um, oh, they have a lot of leeway left. Leeway
they
left.
do. But what I think is most interesting about their schedule, Mark, is obviously you have the game against Brantford. You're not really chasing them anymore at this point, I think.
Right.
But it's a big game, and it's a school day game. You can feed off the crowd. I'm more interested in their schedule right after that game. You play Barrie, who you've had a hard time beating, and it's in Barrie. Barrie's not a good team.
Should be a win.
You have to win that game. You move to Ottawa. You're fighting for playoff positioning with them. You have to win that game because you didn't win the last one. Then you play Oshawa. You're in the mix with Oshawa. You have to win that game. You know what I mean? It's a big matchup. Then you play Sarnia. Sarnia, not a great team. Not in the playoff picture. Then you play Niagara. Obviously not a good team. You have to win that game. Then you're back to playing Brantford, right? That's a game you might
Yep.
drop. It's in Brantford. Brantford's a pretty good team. But then you play Niagara again, second last game of the season. They're not a good team. You should win that game,
Yeah.
right? Then the
Should.
last game of the season is a team, again, you're in the mix with, North Bay. And it's the last
Yeah.
game of the year. It is going to be
Yeah.
super interesting. Every single game, again, unless it's a team like Niagara, no disrespect, but Niagara's not great, right?
These guys hold their fate in their hand.
They hold, yes, thank you. That was the point I was trying to make. Absolutely, they do.
Gotcha.
And the teams that they're playing also do in terms of the playoff teams, which is going to make those games so exciting. We could see fights, we can see physicality. They're going to be fantastic games. And it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Like heading down the
for
stretch.
sure.
The fact that the standings are this close makes the end of the season fantastic because let's say they play Oshawa in the first round. You're playing them again before the season ends. Let's say they play North Bay in the first round. You're playing them the last game of the season. You could play Ottawa. They're still playing them one more time, right? A bunch of divisional matchups and a bunch of matchups that you're fighting for playoff positioning. So it's going to be super exciting. And I mean, I think there's only 8 or 9 games left in the season. So we're right here. We're heading into it. It's exciting. This is the best time of year in the OHL, if you ask me.
Oh, the playoffs are the best.
Yeah, heading down the stretch here is great because, earlier in the season, you're still fiddling with your lineup, and then you got the trade deadline, you got the World Juniors, guys are missing, and then around this time is when teams start gearing up, and then you get closer to the matchups. It's a lot of fun. So, reminds me of
the best kind of hockey.
Yes, reminds me of the majors days, getting all excited, and early Steelheads.
Yeah, pleasure, always fun, man.
Yes, sir. So, Ottawa's your pick? You'd say Ottawa?
Ottawa would be my pick. That'd be the best matchup.
That would be, I think, best matchup. And I not just because I think the Steelheads would win that series. I still think they could beat North Bay as well. I know that's saying a lot, but they could beat North Bay. I think they could even beat Oshawa, right? There's a lot of teams I think they could beat. It's a lot in the air in this season, so it's going to be
exactly.
Really good.
Well, don't forget the 8th seed Rangers beat the 1st seed
Windsor.
Windsor last year, so anything could happen.
Which people were like, "Oh, whoa, big upset! 8, sweeps 1." That never happens in the OHL. That is insane.
No, it never does. No, it never does happen.
I don't know if that's ever happened before. I think that was the stat.
I find that in junior hockey, it's like whenever it's a powerhouse team, it's like the NBA. Whenever it's a powerhouse team, it's just going to be a win for the powerhouse.
Yeah. And I find that there could be sometimes when there's powerhouse teams and a lot of let's say NHL draft picks on it or prospects, you get a lot of butting heads, stuff like that, which is what I've always kind of admired about the Steelheads because I feel like the Steelheads play a very team-oriented game, and they've been successful with that.
They're a close group.
Very close group as well, yeah. So that's great to
Yeah.
see. Actually, the stuff they've been doing on social media lately too has been really good. I will credit them for that with the behind the scenes with JR's speeches after games and stuff, after wins. That's been good to see how close the team is and stuff. So just to give the fans a peek and stuff. So it's always a close group. I think JR and company really try to hammer that home. That's been good.
They do, and it is something different. We never see it from the Steelhead side.
Yeah. So that's been good. But anything, you know what? Let's preview next week, and we'll get out of here. So obviously, this Wednesday, 11 a.m. start at the Paramount Fine Food Center. School day game, second of the year against the Brantford Bulldogs. Who wins, Mark?
Oh, that's a straight shot question. Hopefully Mississauga, but I mean, school day games have never been in Mississauga's favor.
It's been tough some years, yeah. I don't know. I hope Mississauga can pull it out. I think the kids being behind them, it just gets the blood pumping a little bit. So
something they'll need. So hopefully Mississauga can win that.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Have you ever been to a school day game, whether a student or an adult?
I've been to 2. In grade 12, my school went, so that was kind of cool. I got to go on the trip for free because I had season tickets.
Nice.
No, yeah, I went in grade. Sorry, no, I lied. I went in grade 11, grade 12. And I went another year. I sat in the box. So that was fun. Yeah, about 3 games.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun. They're also very loud.
They are.
When they play the prompts to get loud, wow, it is crazy.
You are not thinking in that arena.
No, you
Every
are not.
thought's out the brain.
So that is Wednesday. The very next night they play at in Barrie, 7 p.m. on Thursday night. Who takes that one?
Mississauga should take that. I think they'll bounce back from their last game
Mississauga
in Barrie.
should win. I will say that,
Hmm.
but they've had a tough time against Barrie this year, especially lately. It's been weird
Yeah,
to watch, but hopefully they can pull it out. And then in Ottawa, so they're really not at home besides the school day game until next week. Then in Ottawa, 2 p.m. on Sunday, big matchup. You need revenge if you're the Steelheads.
that could probably go to another overtime.
It
That
could,
one took coin flip. That's a
yeah.
coin flip.
It's going to be a physical game. It's going to be a good one to watch. So,
Oh yeah, they haven't forgot about Lescover's head. That's gonna be some blood.
no, yes, that's gonna
No.
no, that should cause some outrage. But that'll be fun to watch. And yeah, until then, check out Mark's articles, a bunch of articles. You did one on Lescovar last week. Obviously,
Yep.
the one on Fibberger this week. Anything else in the chamber? Maybe you can tease.
Like I mentioned, I'm gonna try to do like a Mississauga history thing.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
One or two pieces. Won't be too much because um, I'll probably do some during the playoffs or before, and
Mhm.
I'll do a playoff preview. That'll come out.
Nice.
When everything clears out who they'll play, more stuff will come out.
And if you ask me, that'll probably be on March 22nd after the final game of the season on a Friday.
Exactly. When I'm at work on my shift, I'll be getting it out there.
Yes. And also, one last thing to mention now that I'm looking at the schedule. The season ends on a Friday at 7. Usually the season ends whether at home or on the road on a Sunday, I feel like. So,
On the end on for Mississauga.
yeah, I feel like it's usually on a Sunday. But guess it's a little
Oh
different this year.
yeah,
Interesting.
boy, I don't know why for some weird reason. So I thought the March 15th. I totally missed the three games after that. I thought it was the March 15th game, and then there's one more game, and that was it.
No,
So it's the
no.
end of March. So it's Friday, March 22nd.
Yeah. So that would be the
Okay,
final
I
game.
had a mistake. I had a brain cramp today. Um, no, back in the day, they used to have home ending games on Fridays for the last game of the season.
Oh, well, I am
Then they put
mistaken
it
then.
to then they put it to the weekends. I guess it's easier because then you get autographs.
You can get autographs after the game, yeah, I think. And it's
Back in the day, it
usually
used to be
fan
on
appreciation.
Saturdays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it would be after you can get the autographs after the game, fan appreciation type game, usually
Yep.
the last game of the year. So they did the whole thing like that. But
Those lineups were fun to wait in.
yeah, it's always fun. Like I saw kids, somebody commented on a Steelheads thing. They're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I watched these guys play and I got their autograph." I'm like, "That's cool, man. I remember being that." So
Yeah, oh yeah. I have on my wall there, and I have one on my wall behind me. I don't know if you can see it. I have my ice dog one of it. That was from Fan Appreciation Day.
nice.
That one's the last one. That was from the last year of the season.
Is that the Ice Dogs?
Yeah, that's the 2006, 2007. There's a rookie Petrangelo autograph on there.
Yep, Alex Pietrangelo, and then went off to Niagara. So I guess we'll wrap it there. Hopefully the Steelheads can pull out a couple wins this week on the road, and we'll follow up next week.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk to you guys next Monday.